Saturday Night Live, one of the biggest institutions in the history of television. Let's break down how SNL's pilot both set the tone and what has evolved past it, and which parts of the legendary DNA are still going strong 50 years later. A show built on tradition, SNL still carries many elements of episode 1 all the way to episode 988, but the SNL debut looks very different than what the show has become 50 years down the line. We still stick with the familiar cold open sketch that leads every show, and now the classic repeat after me bit that plays on every single SNL highlight reel. Then we hear the 8 most legendary words in the history of television, live from New York. It's Saturday night! Iconic. Day one. That phrase alone has stood the test of time more than any other tagline in the history of TV. That one line sets the tone for everything that follows over the next 5 decades. The original cast was dubbed the not so ready for primetime players, and they were the show's workers, filled with special guests. Chevy, Belushi, Curtin, Aykroyd, Newman, Radner, and Morris, names that will echo through the halls of Studio 8H for the next 50 years. Chevy Chase, John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd all had a chance to lead their own sketches. Most bits were a group effort. Sketches were short, punchline heavy, and didn't require much range. No major recurring characters, but you get to start to get a sense of each performer's energy, especially Chevy and Aykroyd. The real spotlight here isn't just on the cast, it's on the format. Everyone is playing into the concept of live sketch comedy as a whole, not just in their own moments. The biggest difference and change we see coming out of episode 1 is the variety show nature of the show. The host, George Carlin, opens the show with an iconic SNL monologue, but does not appear in any of the sketches. The musical acts, Billy Preston and Janice Ian, perform between bits just like today, but they each get 2 songs, making 4 musical breaks instead of 2. Andy Kaufman stops by for his classic Mighty Mouse routine, and Valerie Broomfield does a tight 5 stand-up spot. And Albert Brooks creates a short film that plays in the middle. We even get a guest spot from Jim Henson's Muppets for a complimentary puppet show. These interludes between the sketches create a completely different pace for the show than what we have on TV running today, a true variety show. But there's still plenty of sketches to break down. The New Dad Policy, first ever fake product ad that becomes one of SNL's longest running hallmarks.
New Dad, a radically new concept in family insurance coverage.
Show us your guns. That's a sketch that could run today. Bit of a time capsule and proof that SNL has always had its finger on the pulse of culture. Breaking into someone's house just to sell them security. Again, smart and funny, surprisingly modern, and also introduces Dan Aykroyd's trademark manic persona.
Mr. Cromer have the perfect right to throw me out of your house, if you think you can.
A series of medicine commercials parodying prescription ads before prescription ads even became the monster that they are now, way ahead of their time. And then of course there's the glue that holds the show together, Weekend Update. Hosted by Chevy Chase, Weekend Update is largely untouched as it parodies all the headlines you would see on the nightly news. Chevy didn't waste any time with this opportunity. He used it to set himself apart from the rest of the cast from day one, and, for better or worse, he never looked back. Most of the jokes still hit. Comedy is the entertainment medium that ages the worst, so not everyone will resonate with every punchline or understand every reference. But all in all, the writing chops are still there. Not everything aged well. There's a gross Age of Consent sketch that just does not belong. It's uncomfortable and a reminder that this show, while known for being progressive and edgy, still couldn't completely overcome the ick of the times. The biggest change? It becomes less of a variety show as the show goes on, and more of a sketch show. The host eventually starts getting involved with all the sketches. The musical guests get 2 performances at the quarter mark of each half. Stand-up performances are replaced by special guest cameos, and while cartoons and shorts end up becoming important parts of the show, the Muppets and short films go by the wayside. Another big omission from episode 1 that might be the most glaring difference in SNL: no characters. Chevy is Chevy. Dan Aykroyd gives a subtle taste of what will end up being his Erwin Mainway character, but other than that, the main cast does not stand out with iconic characters that they and the future cast will be known for. The idea of an episode of SNL featuring no characters today seems impossible. This exact cast will go on to be synonymous with some of the most iconic characters, but none of them made the first cut. One bit that did make the first cut was the Killer Bees, a very stupid and silly sketch that comes and goes. It was the only note from the network. They asked, no more bees. Cut the bees. Because of that note, the bees came back the very next week and appeared 11 more times over the course of season 1. That's the DNA of SNL, punk rock topical sketch comedy that is going to do exactly what Lorne Michaels and the cast want to do and nothing else. And if you don't like it, you're gonna have to pull the plug because we are live. This is a show that very quickly evolved into a formula that still exists today. They dialed in quickly and never looked back. So while episode 1 is an incredibly different type of show, the energy remains exactly the same half a century later. SNL's pilot is a half dozen different types of bits thrown together in front of a red light of a camera, but it's also incredibly confident in its format, and that confidence is what made it a mainstay from day one. You can feel the show figuring itself out in real time, and that spirit never really left. If you're watching this pilot today, it's less about individual sketches and more about appreciating how many traditions launched on a single night. This is a show that will go on to launch some of the greatest comedy careers of all time, become a benchmark of made it in Hollywood, and literally shape the political landscape of America. And it all started with a dumb repeat after me bit. Simplicity at its finest, an SNL tradition.